It is the most unforgiving place on Earth. Over 3.5 million square miles. A vast wilderness. It is the Sahara Desert, with people and cultures as unpredictable as the landscape.
Running 50 miles a day, it's the challenge, it's going the distance, it's just pushing myself to my limits.
It's never been done. No one's ever run that far in that period of time.
That will be tough. It's a mental thing, I think.
Imagine running 50 miles per day for more than 100 days. In an unprecedented personal challenge, 3 ultra runners, good friends, test physical strength and mental toughness, running across the entire Sahara Desert.
They're such high-end athletes. They're used to pushing themselves, but they're going to be pushing their bodies more than they ever have in the past.
We've had injury, we've had sickness.
Sorry, dude.
The best thing to do would be to stop for the day, but we have to cover some miles today.
Any Americans found there without proper paperwork are going to be considered spies, liable to execution.
You're going to have to make the best decision for us as a team.
It's so difficult for me because the personalities are so different.
I don't want to push us into the ground, obviously, but I'll push us damn close.
This is, a lot tougher than you could have ever thought.
You can do this. You don't want to quit. It's okay.
We saw a young boy, 7 or 8 years old, in the desert alone, fending for himself while his dad was a 2 days walk away to get water. That's the water situation. I mean, it's so much bigger an issue than I would have ever thought.
Narrated by executive producer Matt Damon and directed by James Mall, a personal and compelling journey into the world's most mysterious wilderness.
The purpose of the 3 of us coming here was to learn more about each other, to learn about the people of the Sahara, and to do something that hasn't been done before.
They all 3 agreed that if one runner went down, they would be out of the expedition.
I thought your commitment was different than that.
When is the end?
The end is when we get to Cairo.
When Africa is one, and we sing this song, show me the way home. Go high, show me the way home. It don't hurt no more.
It will be a life-changing experience, and not just for the 3 runners, for everybody who's along on this journey.
Guys, it is my honor to be here today. You are my kind of audience, and you're totally going to get what I'm going to talk about today. As you just saw there, my 2 best friends and I, November 1st, 2006, set out on an epic expedition, a project that people said was impossible. We ran across the entire Sahara Desert, 4,500 miles. It's like running across the United States almost twice, but in the sand. It took us 111 days to do this project. We ran an average of 40 miles per day without a single day of rest. We had 5 immediate support crew out there helping us to make our way. Probably one of the toughest parts of the expedition, 2 showers the entire time we were out there. So we were so funky, but we would never get lost even in a sandstorm because, of course, our crew would always find us, right? You can always smell people when they're that bad, right? But I joke about this expedition, and I get to tell people about this so often, how we ran this 4,500 miles, 7,500 kilometers, 111 days across the Sahara Desert, and what it meant to us and what we learned. And I'll tell you, we learned some amazing things about ourselves doing this expedition. But we learned also from the people of Northern Africa about the severity of the drinking water crisis in Northern Africa, the preciousness of water. We learned this from the Tuareg people, the nomads of the Sahara, who were with us every step of the way over the course of the 111 days. When we finished this expedition, I joined my friends and my wife, and we came together and said, we've got to do something. There's got to be a way to share what we've learned about ourselves on this project and about our world. I mean, let's face it, when I dipped my hands into the Red Sea after running 4,500 miles, 6 years before that, at 30 years of age, I was a pack-a-day smoker. I was a sedentary person. But here I had ran across the Sahara Desert and learned instantly when my hands touched that water that we totally underestimate what we're capable of doing. That we are all capable of the extraordinary, not just a guy like me. But further than that, if there was a way to engage your generation. Because when I was your age, I really didn't feel like I had a place. Like I didn't have a voice. I didn't have a mission. But I wanted to share the way I felt now, then, when I put my hands in that Red Sea, because that's how you should feel now. Like the world is never ending. The future is so full of options. We created an organization called Impossible to Possible with the goal of taking adventure and using it as a story, a way to educate, inspire, and empower a generation of young people. And we set out around the world on incredible expeditions. To the South Pole, we trekked for 33 days from the ocean to the South Pole, hauling sleds full of gear, food, everything that we would need to survive for the entire journey to the top of the bottom of the world. Included in those sleds was communication equipment. That communication equipment was used to communicate with thousands of students, our teammates in schools all over the world. Not only were we able to communicate, I'm talking two-way street of communication. We brought the South Pole into the classroom, and the classroom came with us on the journey to the South Pole. We answered questions day to day, and we were talking about a topical issue at the time, our changing planet and how we are adapting to it. It was amazing because, again, to be able to share every step of the way with classrooms was so effective for us. It was so effective in the sense that it made us get to the South Pole. It helped us. It inspired us. You inspired us to get there. The stories that we were hearing from schools and the action that students were taking, addressing the issues of climate change, were phenomenal. One school planted 1,000 trees. Another school was writing a new column on our changing planet in a local newspaper. We decided to take things up and amp it up even further. It's one thing for me to go out on an expedition and do these things and connect with thousands of students and create educational programs. It's another for you to come out on an expedition with us. We said, let's select youth ambassadors. And let's plan a trip to an incredible part of the world. Let's go to the opposite of the South Pole. Let's go to Canada's Arctic. And let's provide all the gear that our team would need to survive crossing Baffin Island and Canada's Arctic, including, once again, all of that communication equipment. And let's have them bring that expedition into the classroom. 5 young people trekked across Baffin Island carrying 60 pounds of gear and food on their backpacks, and once again shared the story of how the changing climate is affecting the people and the life of the people in the north. Again, a very effective platform when the story of the adventure is the backdrop to the learning program. See those mountains? That's Mount Thor in the background. You can see the trekkers in the middle. It's a mile high. Imagine witnessing that and seeing it. You know, you take a look at some of these photos of the landscape of Baffin Island. Imagine touching that grass. It's real. You know, that's real. This is bringing the world to a whole new audience that otherwise may not have ever seen or known that this is what the Arctic looks like. The classroom, though, this happens during the school year. It's not like you're getting out of school. We bring the classroom into the outdoors. And the lessons that were being taught by our educational team were once again shared with our thousands of teammates in those classrooms all over Canada, United States, everywhere. We use technology in ways that it's really not meant to be used. Using a satellite phone and hooking it up with a modem and then sending up photos and answering those questions once again through our MacBook from the middle of the Arctic. It was an exceptional experience again, but I got to tell you, more than actually even the educational was the inspirational component that was so powerful for us. Because to see the looks on the faces of these young explorers as they reached the Arctic Circle, successfully doing something that someone their age had never really accomplished before was absolutely incredible. But the adventures would continue, and sky's the limit, right? I mean, you guys are capable of amazing things. In April this year, 4 youth ambassadors again ran a marathon a day across Tunisia in an effort to raise awareness once again for water. We went back to water. Raising awareness for water, a marathon a day in the sands of the Sahara, once again using that same technology to share the experience day to day of classrooms. Now we're talking about water, and we had a whole curriculum created about that. The teachers were able to access for free into the classroom. You've got this amazing story of 4 youth ambassadors running and learning about water as they make their way across the Sahara Desert. Let's have a challenge-based component. So we challenged these students, these extended ambassadors in classrooms, close to 10,000 of them, to fundraise for 2 water projects in Africa. They successfully created campaigns in school. It was like a social entrepreneurial experiment. They took the stories, the content that was being made available and downloadable from the Sahara every day, and created school projects and fundraisers and events so that they would be able to fund these 2 water projects. And to skip ahead and tell you something, one of those water projects, for people that they'll never meet, has been built and funded. That's incredible. That's making a difference. you know? Running across the Sahara Desert the same way we did in the Running the Sahara expedition. Feeling every day the heat, learning from the people of the Sahara Desert how that heat affects the human body, but also affects communities when there's a lack of clean drinking water available. I mean, the stories that they were hearing were the same ones, and the stories they were sharing were the same ones that we shared from running the Sahara, how difficult it was. It's hard when you're running a marathon a day in the sand, and people are tracking every footstep you take. That last photograph with the yellow tracking device allowed schools on this interactive website to see where our students were every step of the way, every sand dune that they went through. You saw it in real time. You experienced it. You felt the difficulties of the expedition. Sahara is a very demanding place, of course, but when you're motivated and inspired by something greater than the adventure itself, when there's something more to share, and in this case, the topic of water, you can do extraordinary things. I mean, you look at these photos, and again, you see the difficulties on their faces, but that makes the story real for everyone. You know, I'd like for you to hear it in their own words and see some of the stories that they were sharing through the videos that we were uploading in this way right here during the expedition.
Here, in the middle of the desert, in a well.
And this is the stuff, this is what we're talking about. This is exactly what Ryan's Well Foundation and what Giving Water Foundation, that's what we're trying to raise money for. This is a well. This is the stuff.
What it's all about, this oasis here. There's some people you can see with water jugs over there. I don't know how far they come to get this water, but this is just incredible, this oasis. And I mean,
you know, they say we can't see into the future, but I can tell you right now, I'm looking at it in this audience. And I can tell you from what I've learned from these youth ambassadors on these expeditions, the power I've seen in their eyes when they've been able to communicate and fundraise and do the things that they're doing, and as extended team members, the thousands of students in the classrooms, what they're doing day to day. I think the future looks very, very bright. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.